Hey, folks, you're watching and listening to the Amazing Vito show, and I've got a very special guest, one of the funniest men on the planet. People have said this. As soon as I said I'm going to be interviewing John Wing, the first thing they say is, that guy's a really nice guy, and he's really funny. That's what they say, John. I'm sorry. I'm not making it up. That's what they say.
All
So
right.
this is some of his accomplishments. He's been on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno, 6 times, Just for Laughs, Comedy Festival. Around he's appeared around the world at festivals all over the world. He's had TV shows. He's also written a comedy series, Man, Woman, and Child. He's also appeared on America's Got Talent. He has a very successful podcast. He's written several books. And I think the biggest goal of them all, John, is you've been married since 1989 to this. Is it the same woman?
I'm afraid so.
That's amazing. That to me is the biggest accomplishment since 1989. So that I mean, we go through
Yep.
your accomplishments. How did you make that? I mean, I've been with since 1997, but how did since 89? You hear so many people that just don't. After 3 weeks, they're like, "Hey, take care." You know, what's your
No.
secret?
I don't know.
You just lucked out and found.
I lucked out. No doubt about that. I lucked out. My daughter asked once. I did it I do it as a joke, but my daughter asked my wife why we were still together because all her friends' parents were divorced.
Yeah,
My wife said, "Your father hears everything I say," and that's important.
yeah.
We have an equitable distribution. That's important. We're very supportive of each other. Like at the current time, it's Friday, so I haven't worked now for 53 weeks.
Are you?
And
Oh
I
wow.
mean, unless you count Zoom shows, which I don't. Um, so I haven't worked. I mean, I've been working. I've been working on other things, but I haven't made a lot of money. And my wife has no problem with that. And she's at work right now. So and the weird part was we'd spent the majority of our 30 odd years together separate, apart, because I was on the road most of the time. And now I've been home now for 53 weeks, daily, getting up, going to bed, etc. And we still like each other, that's as impressive as anything. And we have a routine now too. So I'm a little worried about going back.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think it's because you have a. I mean, I've watched tons of of your stand up. You have a really. You're very funny. Of course, you're very funny, but you have
Thanks.
a nice sense of humor. And again, people say. Again, I'm not kissing your ass. I'm just telling you what people say. They just go, "He's just a really nice man. He's just a nice guy." And I, I I've been on
Not
the.
always true.
I've been
Wasn't
on.
always.
Well, I've been on the road with comics where they cannot wait to seems like they couldn't wait to cheat on their wives, you know? And it was just I was just going, dude, there's really no why you married. And then, a few years later you're like, "Hey, remember such and such? Yeah, they got a divorce." And it's like, "No way, really?" Like so when you say, "Oh, it's not true," I think it's the way you perceive yourself because your stand up is very you have a very dry, which I love, very dry way, a very people say with me, they go, "You have a British way of telling jokes. I'm like, what's that mean? They go, you're very dry. And
Well, we're of a certain age too, and if you grew up in Canada, you got as much British comedy
yes,
as you did American comedy.
yes,
You grew up with homegrown stuff, not a lot, maybe 10 or 20% of what you got was homegrown. And then of the other 80%, at least 40% of that was British. Benny Hill, the Pythons, etc., etc. Fry and Laurie, whatever. So we all grew up in my generation. We all grew up with a real British comedy sensibility because with the Pythons, especially, that was the dominant thing. That was the dominant comedy. Saturday Night Live is the American version of the Pythons, or was when it started, right? So, so we've all got a British sensibility to a degree. If you're over 50 or 55, so that's why Mike Myers is a perfect example of that too, right? So
yeah. No, I grew
that
up.
comes naturally.
I grew up. My dad would let me stay up and watch Dave Allen,
Yeah,
and
there's a good example.
and there, I mean, I didn't understand half the jokes, but I would sit there and watch him, and my dad would always hide his laughter, like he would do this because he didn't, for some reason, he didn't want me to see him laugh.
Oh,
So, I don't know why, but he would just cover up, and uh, you know, I just thought, what an amazing gig this guy's got. I mean, he just sits there and he tells, that's his job. He tells jokes, and it went from Dave Allen on the buses. I don't think you remember there was a show called Ghosts of Mortley Hall. There was
do you remember? I don't think I ever watched it.
it was one of those things. It was from 77 till about 76 till 78. And I remember seeing it, I was very young, but it was one of those things. Did I dream of it? Did I, because years later, when you see something, you're like, yeah, I remember that, and it just, your memory banks are like, oh, wow, okay. But with the British shows, they were far more superior because they would be like, uh, I was never into, what was that show? The Canadian show, Dave and Schuster,
Wayne,
Wayne and Schuster.
Wayne and Schuster.
So I never understood it. And then
Oh,
all of a sudden, Monty Python had come on. I still didn't understand Monty Python, but I thought these guys are nuts. You know, like just the way that men dressed up as women. The battle. Remember the Battle of Britain, where they would.
the townswomen's guild recreating the bat. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
they go
mean,
in the mud and they beat each other up
yeah,
with their
I remember
first
laughing as a child seeing that for the first time, just laughing my brains out, just going, this is just, this is funny. So yeah, we do. Canada does get a lot of it. Well, it did get a lot of its humor from the BBC, uh,
Absolutely, that's true.
and that's a good thing. Uh, um, you're when you say you haven't worked in, was it
Well,
52 weeks? Are
a
they are
year.
they are they going to open up soon, or like what are they doing?
I don't know. I have to get vaccinated before I can work,
Okay.
and I'm still not. I registered for a Vax Alert today, but my wife got vaccinated today, and my daughter's been vaccinated. But I'm still down the list because I'm not 65, and even though I have a condition, uh, that means I probably should get vaccinated. I can't get on the list yet, and I'm not going to cheat and jump the line. So lots of people I know have done that, but I'm not going to do it. So
Yeah.
I just have to get vaccinated. I'll probably be vaccinated within the next 6 weeks or so, and then I can go back on ships or maybe come to Canada again, see my mother, whatever. But uh, I'm hopeful. I've known for a while now that it's going to be the fall before work really starts again. So we'll see, right? We'll see.
Yeah,
The
didn't it?
problem is the problem now is it's like when Federer had mono. I mean, you can't take a year off and just expect to come back and be anything as competent as you were. Even after doing something for 40 years and being solidly booked for 37 of those in a row, uh, you can't take a year off. And I haven't, in one sense, in the sense that I'm still performing on this podcast I do, uh, but that becomes the worry. I had a dream the other night, and I never have performing dreams. Maybe never, certainly extremely rare. My basic dream about my job has been I'm on my way to a show and the car breaks down and a guy says, no, I'll take you. And then his car breaks down and another guy says, no, I'll take you. And then something happens with him and everybody says, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. And I never get there.
Yes, I've had that dream.
I have that dream a lot, or I used to have it a lot. So the other night I dream I'm performing and it's going real well. And I'm aware that I'm performing. I'm aware that I'm dreaming. And at first I think, wow, it's going well. I'm back. I'm doing this. I know how to do this still. And then I realize I'm dreaming, but I wake up and I think, shit, I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to get back to this. And the very next night, I have another performing dream. And in that dream, I'm repeating a setup endlessly because I can't remember the punchline. And the audience is just sitting there wondering if I'll ever remember this punchline. And I never do. So
that's called a nightmare.
Well, one day you think it's going to be okay, and the next day you don't. So you know.
But isn't that a weird? I mean, stand up is such a. People will sit there and say, "Oh, it's easy stand up," or you tell jokes or whatever, and it's like, are you kidding me?
No.
I mean, it's very, you got to get to the show. In Canada, half the time you almost get killed getting into a show. And then you jump up on stage and it's like, make them laugh. And you're paid to make people laugh. It could be very intimidating sometimes.
Sure.
And being off as long, I mean, I'm with you. I've not performed in so long. Tomorrow I'll be performing, but it's for a little charity, and there, only 50 people are allowed in, including staff. And
at least it's live.
Yeah, but it's
live. It's no, it'd be fine.
Mentally, I'm not. I'm like, well, what bits do I do? What It's just like I'm all over the place because I'm like, geez, it's just I'm trying to remember bits, and it's just like, yeah.
The best thing to do, I think, now would be to organize some kind of 20-minute opening mic, open mic for guys. So you have like 5 guys and everybody does 20, or pardon me, 5 people, guys, gals, whatever, men, women, non-binary, whomever, and everybody does 20, and they have to do stream. Because that would be the best way to see. Because a lot of us have been writing little jokes, but nobody, at least to me, I haven't written a bit. I've written down ideas. I've written down little jokes, but no bits. And most of the jokes I've written are opening lines for Zoom shows. So the best thing to do would be to do a bunch of open mics where you can do 20 and just go, just talk. Don't even worry about being funny. Just see what it feels like to talk in a stream again.
Yeah,
that would be good practice.
Sorry, that's correct. That's what I keep telling myself. And then, but it's still that whole, because the last show before this pandemic hit, Uh, it was really weird, John. It had a really weird vibe. The show, people were, you had to clean your hands. And I remember the other two comics that were there. I knew one of them, but the other guy I didn't know. And it was just this weird, like just it was like kind of like dreamland. Like we're talking, and it's like, okay, you're gonna do your time, yeah. And these people really, they've already purchased tickets. Um, Half these people want to go. I like to bring people up on stage to,
Really?
yeah, to fool around with, not touch them or anything like that.
No, 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 no. I know, but
But
I never.
I couldn't, I couldn't, right? So
Right.
it was just it was weird. And I remember telling the other comic, okay, I'll see ya. And it's like, okay, I'll see ya. And it was just kind of like we kind of looked at each other like, this is serious. Like this is something's weird. This is becoming really weird. And the show that I was supposed to be with, Kenny Robinson, me and Kenny were supposed to play uh, a show together, and they canceled that, and then they canceled another one. And I just go, you watch the news and you're thinking, man, is this like this is a weird, just a very unsettling time. You don't want your family members to see that you're kind of worried, you know, because you're going, man, there's I don't know about work here, and a few comics that I know, uh, they've all gotten real jobs because they're like, hey man, I need to make money. So
Yep.
what one guy's working at a pet shop that used to work on cruises, making 120 grand. Now he's making 30,000 working at a pet store. You know,
Who is
uh,
it?
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
So, um, anyways, yeah, because he just doesn't want to, but m- mentally, uh, you could just see it in people's faces. They were like, okay, when is this crap going to be over? And it's like, okay,
I
I
feel
get it. You need to get vaccinated, and I understand that, but let's get the vaccination going. And because it's just some of the ideas, the shows that people have had where they're like, yes, you're going to do a show, and it's like, okay, great. And Yuck Yucks, for instance, they had, and I understand Mark needs to keep the club going, but it's like you got to play. There's plexiglass in front of you, right? So you're seeing your reflection while you're standing there with a mic, and it's just really weird, you know.
yeah.
It just I mean,
Well,
if I told
Wilmot did London last weekend, I think. And I've heard guys talk about working at Absolute, and I'm jealous whenever I hear about it because I'd like to do a show, but I'd also be frightened. I'm not freaked out about my Monday Zoom show yet. My free show for a cancer society, I'm doing 10. I'm not freaked out about it yet, but tomorrow morning when I get the notes out and start looking at what I might do for 10 minutes, I'll be freaked out for 48 hours till I do it.
right,
So, I hate doing that. I hate being freaked out. I hate being stressed. But I haven't turned down a single Zoom show yet, despite the fact that I really don't like doing them.
well,
And
I think
I
it's
got a
the whole
bunch coming up.
it's the whole thing of I mean, stand up. I think the whole arts are wrecked because you're used to having an audience and the reaction of an audience. I just watched a performance where you must have been there must have been about close to 5,000 people, and where you walked out, there's this huge audience in front of you, and I'm thinking, I mean, I usually, you know, I'll just look at one person, because if I were to look around and see that, I would I would panic. You know,
Yeah.
how do you, when you do those big giant shows, uh how do you
Well,
not
I don't
freak
look at
out?
anybody. I don't look at anybody. I
No?
mean, unless I've decided on certain shows, a lot of shows, the last 2 or 3 years, I will pick somebody out beforehand, and it's got to be a young person. I try to find a young person that I can zero in on in the front row to talk to.
Yeah.
If I don't, if I don't have that, then I don't look. Or if I'm not going to talk to, if I'm not planning on talking to anybody, then I do the show. I do the show to the sound. I don't do it. The audience is a sound. I'm attempting to control a sound and time a sound. That's all I'm doing. I don't. Occasionally, you look, the looks are just flashes, and because if you fixate on someone without um, actually talking to them or having a reason to fixate on them, you blow your own concentration. So I don't. I've always um, I've always done the show, big shows, gala shows, that type of thing, big theaters. You're just playing to a sound. You don't want to. You don't want to concentrate on anything but where you are in your head, right? Because how fast everything moves when you're performing, you can do something that takes 2 seconds and it seems like a half hour because you're going so fast. So yeah, you can't get tripped up, and you know what I mean. It's like running, and you're downhill and you're going too fucking fast, and you're afraid you're going to fall because if you fall, you'll be like, what's happening? You'll be the snowball, right?
Yeah.
You'll be going down. So yeah, I unless I'm picking somebody out, I don't specifically look at the audience. I try and look at them as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
WHOLE. Oh, should I get that? Hang on a second.
No, no,
Can
go
you
ahead.
hang on a second?
It's probably his agent, so that's a good thing. Or maybe it's his shot. So hopefully he gets that.
It's not my agent. It's a spam call, and I got rid of it. So okay, sorry.
Have you ever been on stage where you've uh like I've seen you perform, and it's like watching a surgeon, because you're like there's no it seems like there's no, hey, I'm stuck, or hey, hey, where was I? That's what I do. Where the hell was I? And I ask people, where was I? What was I talking about? Um, have
Yeah,
you
that happened to me.
have you ever just blanked out?
Yep,
That's terrifying, isn't it?
yep. Especially where and when I did it.
Where did you blank out? On the TV?
America's Got Talent.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
What
You got
happened?
90 seconds, and I blanked. Uh, so here's you walk out. You're backstage in a spot. They put you in a spot so you can see the stage, and you're walking. When they tell you to walk, you're walking to another spot. But on the stage, they're playing your interview on screens, your B-roll, right? My wife reminded me the night before, don't watch the B-roll.
Oh,
And I did. You get caught up, and I lost my concentration because I started thinking, why did they use that? It was the semifinal set, and they were setting me up to not be voted on. And there were a couple of little things that they'd done to set me up. And okay, I didn't realize it till later. So all right, so I walk on stage, and when I perform, there are two jokes going on. There's the joke in my mouth, and there's the joke in the slot. And while I'm doing the joke in my mouth, I can look up and there's the joke in the slot and it's ready. And when the joke in my mouth is finished, the joke in the slot comes down and there's a new joke in the slot. So it's down, slot, out, down, slot, out, like that. So I'm doing the second joke and I look up and the third joke isn't there. There's no joke in the slot. So I'm thinking, gee, that's a little weird. No joke in the slot. I wonder what that third joke is. You know what? I'll finish the second joke and it'll probably be there. And I finished the second joke and it's not there.
Oh, no.
And it lasted about 3 seconds of silence. And then I said, I laughed, I giggled, which tipped a couple of friends of mine that something was really wrong. And then I said something because I had to say something. And what I said contained a key word, luckily, that got me to the joke. And once I got to the third joke, I was fine from there on. But it was about a 3-second blank and a complete blank. I had no idea what the next joke was.
It's terrifying.
Yep.
Especially, it's not like you're playing a little comedy club.
Exactly.
This is like
I did it at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
In the worst moment. Yep. I did.
Yeah. That's like you're on the Titanic. You know, it's like, hey, I want to trip on the Titanic, and it's just like iceberg. What iceberg? What are they?
I've made mistakes on big shows. I made my last Tonight Show. I bombed. Made a big mistake.
What did you do?
Well, there's a rule that I have. If you're doing a TV set, or used to be my rule, and the rule was, if you have a joke in the tag. If the joke stops the show, if the joke gets applause, don't do the tag. It's about 80%. It's about 80-20, depending how long the applause lasts. But the longer it lasts, the more likely you should not do the tag, because it will stop the momentum. You should go to the next joke, right? It's just a basic idea that if you have to wait too long to do a tag, it's not as powerful. Move on, cut it, right? Be fluid in your thinking. But the corollary to that rule is if the joke bombs, don't do the goddamn tag. And I opened with a joke that had 3 tags, and the joke bombed, and I did all 3 tags, and the set over. The set was over in the first 35 seconds. So that was my last Tonight Show.
And did anybody talk to you after? Like, did anybody?
No, not really. We were driving home, and I said to my wife, I can't believe it was as bad as it felt. And I watched it, and it was. So just lesson learned. I was what year was that? I was still in my first year of being sober, and that was an extraordinarily difficult year for my act, and me too. But
I had no idea, John. I didn't know.
The first year was very difficult to be funny, and I lost a lot of my perspective on how I was funny and why I was funny and what was funny. So I would think I was doing okay, and then I would watch sets and go, why would I think that was funny, or why did I think that went well? So I lost a lot of perspective on it for a while.
Like, did you think the booze was helping you? Because I always thought your stand-up was always very controlled.
Oh yeah, I wasn't a booze guy. Never acquired a taste for booze. I was a drug guy.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess it was. My stand-up is still rather, like you said, surgical is a good word for it. It's precise. But uh, I'd been medicating myself, and you're just avoiding pain, right? So the first year of not medicating, uh, I had a lot of pain that was just below the surface that I've been keeping there for a long time, and that it was in later years there was other stuff that came from way deep down, but the first year there's just this big ball of crap, and you're so involved in dealing with things you've never dealt with because you've been medicating them that you lose perspective on a lot of other aspects of your life. And I really lost perspective on this show. So,
Well, you know, um, but you're incredibly successful. I mean, you were on
well,
the
I,
show
I
six
have
times. I mean,
I know I've been successful.
you're you're
I wouldn't
you're
say
you're
incredibly, but
very
I've been
you're
successful.
very
I've made a
humble.
living. Yeah,
You
I've made a
know,
living at comedy,
yeah,
which
but I mean, you know, I met people that have done one gala show, and they think you're like, dude, you did one gala show, but it's just you know, and then now you know you're doing a corporate for Wendy's. I mean, you know, I mean, you've done TV shows, you know, the Just for Laughs. I mean, your head could have been, you could be a complete and utter asshole. And I've met people where I've even interviewed people where I'm like, ooh, this guy's not what I thought he was. He's not really, or this person's not as kind as what I thought. Maybe I'm catching them at the wrong time because whenever
I
I
know who
talk,
you're talking about.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
it throws you off, and you kind of go, I really wish I didn't talk to them because you kind of lose that image. And maybe it's a good thing. You know, I tell my son, try and talk to as many people as you can because sometimes um, you'll be surprised. I mean, there was one person I thought was going to be incredible. You know, it was like higher than a kite, going to be ready to talk to this person. I talked to them, and they're just the biggest pieces of shit on the planet. And then there's I'll talk to a you know a porn star that's like the sweetest, kindest person, and just go, you know, it just throws you off uh because you're thinking, oh, this person's going to be kind of slimy, and you know,
Right.
and they're
Against expectations.
yes, and it's totally very sweet, very kind, and if anything on this planet, uh that's what we've been missing. And you're very uh I mean, you're out in LA. How you don't mention names, but how do you how do you deal with people like you've got to constantly like the clubs that are down there? It's a different world. It's I mean, you came from Sarnia. You know, John is a Canadian boy. He moved down to LA. That how did that come about where you went from here, from you know a small town, to going, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to try my best to be, you know, famous. And
Well,
I believe you are famous, you
I,
know.
I I'm reasonably well known in Canada, that's for sure. Um, I I got to a place 86. What was it? 85. 85. I did 280 shows that year, something like that. And I thought, oh, okay, let's do 300. Let's do 300 shows some year. Next year, 86. So I did it 300 shows in 86. and I had a car, bought a car in 85. And I was just working a lot because I got into a couple of good circuits. My first real road thing was Florida in 83, right? And because I met a lot of guys in those days, every job led to a job. Every guy led to a guy who booked a job and such, or had 4 jobs in this state or whatever it was. So I was doing a lot of that. And I was lucky that I was one of those guys who didn't, yes, I worked yucks, but I didn't have to depend on them. I booked them. I worked their circuit, but I also worked other circuits. So I was lucky that way. And then 87, I was working, man, I worked like 43 weeks out of town, something like that. And by the beginning of 87, I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to make any more money here because I can't work much more than I'm already working. Mm-hmm. And the point was you could go to LA and fail. That was an option. And come back and still have the work. Or you could go to LA and succeed and make 10 times what I was making. And it occurred to me that it would be better to go and fail than it would be to not go and wonder what would have happened if I had gone. And I did, what was it? I did was it Montreal that year? Somebody saw me. Rivers. It was Rivers that year. That's right. Breslin was talent coordinating Rivers. And as soon as he got that job, I took him to lunch and said, I know there's going to be a few guys ahead of me here, but I'm built for this show. I'm built for this kind of show, and I know I can do this, and I want you to put me on the list. And he said he would, and he did. Unfortunately, she got fired before I think I was scheduled. And then a couple of times I was scheduled, bumped, and I didn't go, right? Scheduled, unscheduled, scheduled, she got fired. Then I did it. That's right. And a guy saw me, and I started getting calls from this guy. And it occurred to me I really should just go. But I didn't want to go. I wanted to have a plan. And I met this comic in the fall of 87, and working the Yuck Yucks Western tour. And I liked her and she liked me and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And I came out to LA and moved in with her. And she's the one who's at work now. And I married her and got a green card. First, I got a visa. The guy who saw me on Rivers and liked me got me a work visa for like 2 years or a year and a half or something. And Bud Friedman sponsored me. And as soon as I got out here,
Bud Friedman sponsored you?
Yeah. And as soon as I got out here, I had like in the previous 3 years, I got here in 88. And in the previous 3 years, I had something like 950 shows behind me.
Whoa.
In 3 years, right? Something like that. So maybe not quite 900, around 900 shows. So I was hot, and I had a great opening, and I had a great closing, and I had, when you came out here, you had to start putting sets into 6 to 10 minute bits. You had to, those were the sets you weren't doing 45 or 50. You were doing 6. You were doing 8. You were doing 10. Right. So that was an adjustment. And then the Tonight Show guy saw me real early, second week, I think I was here, and he liked me. And then I got on. It took me 2 years, almost longer, 2 years and 3 months, something like that, before I actually did it. But I always thought, come out and see what happens. And if you don't make it, who cares? Go home. But you never have to think, you never have to regret not doing it. And that was big. That was really big.
That's awesome. That because no, that's really you made the right decision.
Unusual for me, but yes. I'm not a person who trusts his instincts off stage, and I'm not a person who is really any good at all if you put any pressure on me off stage. The only place I've ever been any good with both those things is on stage. And what are you? Just a second. What are you doing? Get out of there. Get out of there. The only time I get better if you put pressure on me is stage. And I do my podcast now, and you have to play music. I have to play a piano and I have to sing. And when we record it, I have to play it, sing. And God, it's so hard because I'm an amateur musician at best. But if you put me in a situation where I'm talking in front of people, that's where I'm at my best. That's the luck of my life, is that I was able to discover that niche that I'm actually really good at.
Yeah, but what I noticed with you, it's very smart. I mean, it's just like you'll have just simple. They're not simple. You make them look simple. Where there's stuff where you'll say John Wing. Can you tell me in Chinese what that means?
Right. You want me to do this joke? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, tell me
the Chinese name.
This is what
Chinese.
I mean.
Right. It means the arm of a bird. I'm good at phrasing too. I'm good at making it precise and not a lot of words. And I can take you there quickly. That's a big thing. And I'm visual. But some people have been asking me for years and thinking I was Chinese. And when they hear the name, first of all, I'd be introduced and they'd hear John Wayne. That was the other thing. And so there were two reasons to do that joke. To correct that it isn't Wayne. And then they're going to think he's Chinese, but I'm not. So do that joke. So much of your opening has to be what they're thinking about what you look like or what you're presenting. If it isn't specifically what you look like, what it is you want them to think. And you have to know as you walk out the impression you're giving them, because then you can deal it directly with that. And that's the key to opening a set, right?
Right.
Oh, it was we had such a great school. 80 to 83, 84. Toronto, Yuck Yucks was open 7 days a week. Everybody came to Sunday show. The Sunday show, everybody came. They had open micers up the ass on Monday night. There were so many people. It was hard. It was you could almost when you were on Monday nights, it was hard to do it every week because there were so many people. You could maybe do it every 2 weeks. It was like that. But we're always there. I think I missed 10 nights in the first 2 years at Yuck Yucks. I saw everybody. I saw if a guy was headlining, I saw every show he did. I saw Tuesday, what is it? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 shows. I saw all eight. And I can still do everybody's act from the period. Years ago, a guy called me up, said, I want to do this bit. He'd been retired, I want to do this bit I used to do, and I can't find a tape of it. And so I did it for him because I could remember it. Because I just went to school, man. And nowadays it's so different for a young comedian because it's all open mic and yeah, you have a camaraderie with the people, the guys, the people who are performing, the men and women, etc. But it isn't like you're in a club the same club every night, sitting in the same seats, listening to the same music, watching the same guys perform. It's different. Not better or worse either. It's just different. We
Well,
were
yeah,
lucky.
I know exactly what you mean. Where I think, uh, now they are. You go to college now and Coconut College and become a comedian. You can take a course, but growing up, we didn't have a course. The course was go to a comedy club, sign up for open mic. I remember it was Harlan Williams was the uh, MC, and the guy that was the headliner for that weekend was Dennis Leary. So,
Right.
and it just I remember going out there absolutely shitting my pants because the crowd was just as it's the downtown club, so they were just this crowd of just the most brutal, like they were just yelling up stuff, and I was supposed to go on, and I went up to Harlan Williams and I just said, I'm leaving. And he goes, no, you're no. And I go, no, I gotta go. I have to go. And he goes, just like why, and I go, look, it's like it's a lion's den. I'm gonna get killed. And he could see the fear, and he goes, everybody has to do this. Okay, you're gonna have crowds like this. And I just said, listen, I gotta go. And he goes, all right, take care. And I left. And it was like such a regret driving home, just going, I should have just went up there, and even if they heckled or I didn't care, at least I went up and showed I had balls instead of just tucking them in and going home. And I remember the guy in the car with me. He was like, I was gonna surprise him, you know, and he was like, "What was that all about? I mean, you were talking to what was that all about?" And I'm like, "Nothing. It was nothing." So, but I was so angry uh, at myself, just saying, why the hell didn't you just? Hey, it's like decades later, who cares? Who would have remembered that? You know, uh, yeah, me. Everybody else would not have remembered that. I would have remembered that, and
Right.
that's what I tell young comics today when they go, I, they're like, if I'm emceeing, and Yucks used to have me in London take care of the amateurs, and I was never like there. I would see some MCs just be so brutal towards them, kind of going, "Hey, did you see that last guy? God, he was awful." And I was never like that. If anything, I was just trying to be as nurturing and telling them, listen, just go out, have fun, relax. Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. And if it was a rough crowd, I would tell them, if you want to talk to somebody, you could talk to me, but please leave these guys coming up. Let them just do their 5 minutes. You know, that's when clubs actually, I don't know, the clubs cared. So, yeah, it was school for me was sitting there watching. I remember watching Stuart Francis, and I got to do some time in Windsor. And I remember Stuart Francis as he came up, and he just said to me, he goes, "Well done." And it was like the biggest compliment. I just thought, and I just love Stuart Francis. So uh, uh, that is school. And I tell guys, go to clubs, just sit there, watch, and you're going to run into guys that just will not want to talk to you. But the guys that that are you're going to run into some guys that will be kind to you, that will tell you. Uh, I would always say this. I go, John, is there any way you could sit around and watch my act, please? And then at the end, could you just tell me what you think? And then you could just sit there and go, that sucks shit. Or you go, listen, that bit, this is what you need to work on. You need a better closer. You could have done so much with this. Uh, uh, and that to
Well,
me, that to me is school.
the last time, maybe the last time I played Toronto, the Richmond Club. It's a few years ago, and I was headlining, and Lawrence came one night, and Lawrence Morgenstern, and I got off. He said, I came to watch. I'm going to see you." I said, "Okay," and I got off, and he had two big sheets of paper with notes.
Oh,
We sat in the booth, and he gave me the notes, and I wrote them down, and a bunch. I think some of the jokes I probably still use. And then a couple of years ago, there's a July 1st show, or around July 1st at the Improv. No, at the store out here, and Angelo Sarukas and some of the guys who were out here put it together. So I did it. Zedlacker was in town, so he did it. And a bunch of us, Lou Dinos was there, and Jeremy, and Sean Chumder, and
yeah, I know you're. Yeah,
they got all the guys, right? So we're and Christine Von Hagen did it too, I think. Anyway, so we're there, and I do the set, and I was working on a new like 6-minute thing or 7 minutes or something. So I decided to do that bit, so I did it, and I finished, and I came back to the back of the room, and Jeremy and a couple other guys are there, and they're going, okay, here's what you should do. Okay, so there's this, okay, and this, and we were going, my wife and I were driving home, and she asked me why I was so happy, and I said, well, there's a respect. Jeremy Hotz, who tours theaters, and I don't even do that, wanted to tell me how much he liked a bit and how he thought I could make it better. And that meant a lot. It just meant a lot.
Yeah, like that is something that I don't think we get enough of these days. But it just shows you the uh, how stand up has changed. Uh, that's great that they did that, and that's sweet. That means they care and they love you and they want you to succeed, which in this world is very important. Uh, but I talked to this guy the other day about this. Uh, I remember in the '80s when like, are you? Has this happened? And you're a very clean comic, but I've seen so many guys that where they've done a joke or they've said something, and now they're in trouble. Do you think that for yourself? Do you sit there and go, "Well, that's just not a good path," or is that something that you just go, "Well," like for me, it was like this. Remember when here's an example. In the early '80s, somebody would do a gay joke. To me, it didn't mean anything, right? Okay, but it was just okay. They did a gay joke, but it's evolved now that if you do a gay joke, that even the gay people find it funny. Like it has to be like if you're just doing a gay joke to make fun of gay people, it's not going to work. But if you do a gay joke that even gay people go, wow, that's kind of funny, you know,
Yeah.
that it's not the old, yeah, I don't want to get
Yeah, I
vulgar,
know what you mean.
but you know what I
It
mean. Like,
requires a little more creativity now. That's all.
yes,
You just have to be. You can't. Uh, your jokes can't be as ethnocentric as they used to be.
right.
Or in the case of us, it was like uh, we were essentially saying, uh, heteros are better. It was an attitude, right? Or white people are better. It was an attitude. You can't do that anymore. You have to be, and not that we did it deliberately. It was a thing. We were raised a certain way. We did it that way. Um, it's just more inclusive now, and you have to be careful. Uh, First of all, who wants to offend? That's
Yeah,
the
that's the
weird thing
thing.
about it is who wants to be offensive? I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, if I might think of a joke and then realize I can't do it. And what happened with me was once I started working ships, what was the point of writing material that had offensive things in it anymore? Because I couldn't do it. Once a year, I'd do a nasty show, maybe at a comedy festival. And so if I wrote something, I'd put it in a little file and I'd have it for the nasty show, whatever. But I wrote this one bit a couple of years ago. That's a very good bit, except that you have to say shit like 30 times. And so I can't do it on ships. I tried. I tried to do it without saying shit, and you can't do it. So, okay. So it's there. I can do it, excuse me, maybe, but on a club night or if they're doing an adult, quote unquote, adult show on a ship, which the ships I've been working for the last 2 or 3 years don't do those things, so you can't do it. So, okay. So it just lies fallow till the time comes where you can do it again, or when you can figure out a way to do it without,
Yeah,
saying the
yeah.
word. Or yeah, I tried it. I tried it with euphemisms. Didn't work. Rhythm changes, right? It's all about rhythm and how you feel. Because that's the other thing. Uh, my confidence in the joke is as important to the audience as the joke, maybe more important. I told a joke at the dinner table one night to my two daughters and my wife, and nobody liked it. And I said, well, you're wrong. I think it's going to work. And it did. It worked because I knew it would. And that's a huge thing. You go in even a little bit tentative, the audience can spot it. Subconsciously, they're going to know he's not confident in this joke, and the joke bombs every time.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
like,
I've seen guys that where you just go like uh where I'm like, this guy has way too much confidence for, but he's selling his confidence. You know what I mean? Like he's selling.
sure.
Like people are like, I guess it's funny because he's acting like it's the funniest thing, and
Yep.
you people don't understand. You know?
Well, but that's showmanship, and if that's all you have, that'll take you a certain distance, but it won't take you all the way,
Mhm.
right? So, not to
Who's
worry.
who's the person that like where you sit there and go, okay, stand up wise, that you watch, that you said, I want to kind of be like that person.
Well, uh, the end of the question is wrong for me because I can only be like me.
Right, right.
The ones I think are funniest, um, Mike McDonald fascinated me. We were friends for a long time, 35 years. And I watched him evolve as a performer from a young, wild, physical performer to an older, much more controlled. Even though he knew what he was doing physically, but he didn't have the physical ability to do that shit he did early. Later in life, he didn't have the ability to be that physical, so he had to bring the act down to a much more concentrated thing. And I loved the way he thought. But the genius, the two great ones that I watch now are Wilmot, who I've never. This is amazing. I've only seen Wilmot maybe 8 or 9 times total, maybe 10 times. I've never seen him repeat a joke. Mm-hmm. Never. And that blows my mind every time I see.
I would beg to, like, I would tell head office, I go, can you put me with Mike Wilmot, please? And they go, all right, and they put me with Mike. And Mike used to crack me up. He did something. He'd call me the little Italian guy. Look, it's a little Italian guy, and he would go. Anyway, there was this other comedian. He was videotaping his set, and Wilmot was grabbing the video camera and putting it in the kitchen and putting it towards a fryer, and it was the funniest thing in the world because the guy would just be furious, like just going, hey, what if I capture some magic? And Mike's like, magic? You're not gonna, like, I'm not gonna say what Mike said to him, but Mike just exploded on him. And the guy's like, just leave my camera alone, which just made Mike just go, okay, sure. So the whole weekend, anytime this guy would tape, Mike would set up the camera in the bathroom. Mike would set up the camera just to, it was
not nice. Not nice, Mike, but I get it.
But he was, yeah, but you know what? I get it. Like when you with you were talking earlier about McDonald. I remember at the Comedy Awards being in his room. We were like just smoking a joint. And it was you weren't allowed to smoke in the rooms. It said non-smoking, and you hear knocking at the door, and it's security. I answer the door, and it's like Cheech and Chong in there. There's smoke comes out, and I close the door and I go, Mike, it's security, and he's like, just relax. And I go, no, it's security. We got to, we got to stop. And he goes, open the door. And he goes to the security guys and he just goes, hey guys, we're just, smoking away. And they're like, hey, do you mind if we take a picture with you? And sure. And they took a picture and he comes back in the room and I go, how did you do that? And he goes, because I'm fucking Mike McDonald. that was just, if you were high, it was so much funnier, But yeah, I miss those things, man. It was just
the other guy is Derek Edwards.
Edwards, yes, Derek.
He's the only guy I've ever followed where I would when I followed him, I would do my act in his rhythm because I love his rhythm. He's a master linguist. His ability to find the word that makes the joke complete is unmatched. And but when I would watch him before me and then I would have to go up after, I would find myself doing my jokes the way he did them. And that's the only guy who's ever influenced me.
Remember he used to do the dentist about the strawberry?
Yeah. Bring forth the strawberry. First time when I get home, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go in the fridge. I'm going to eat all the relish. Yeah. We could do one in Winnipeg in the middle old days, the 90s, when Dean Jenkinson was just starting to come up and Lara Ray was Al Ray. And all the Winnipeg guys, we would get together before a show and we would just do Derek. And everybody would have a Derek bit. Oh, what about this bit? And we'd do it. Oh, yeah. And you had to do it like, this is it. Okay, this is a fun story. Derek had this joke. Excuse me one second. Hey. Derek had this joke. Niagara Falls. You want to have some fun, Niagara Falls. Walk down the main drag and go up to somebody and say, "Pardon me, sir, is there any place around here a fella could get a keepsake, a memento of my time here in Niagara Falls? Something that perhaps had Niagara Falls right on it." And keepsake, brilliant, a brilliant choice, right? Never uses the word souvenir. So I tell that joke to my dad, and he loves it. So he has this coffee club in the morning that he goes to, and I'm in town in Sarnia, so we go. And he's the joke teller at this group of men, mostly retired, who do coffee in the basement of this hotel, special room just for them, et cetera, et cetera. So we're sitting there having our coffee, and Dad says, "I got a joke." And literally the whole room of guys is like, "Oh, yeah, John's got a joke. Great. So he tells this joke, and it dies. It just bombs.
Right.
Everybody's like, "Wow." And I don't say anything. So we're leaving, and we're getting out to the car, and Dad very quietly goes, "I thought that keepsake joke would do a lot better." And I never told him this, but the reason it didn't work was he did it like he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do a Derek Edwards joke like you do it. You have to do it like Derek does it.
Yeah.
That's the way it's done. Another reason that he's so interesting. Wilmot is also interesting in that he's almost as dirty as anyone I've ever seen. And at the same time, he isn't. And that's a tightrope that I've never seen anybody walk.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, he's been very successful in places where England and Australia, where it doesn't matter, where the language doesn't offend people like it does in the US or Canada, etc. But he's also, for a guy who works really dirty and talks about quote unquote dirty stuff, it's amazing how not offensive he is. And both of them have incredible strengths as comedians.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. But those are my guys.
Yeah, they are very talented.
Oh, and okay, Vito, you've watched the 2 Hannah Gadsby specials, haven't you, Vito?
Yeah. I
What are they called, Vito? Prove to me that you've watched them.
Isn't it kind of I tried to watch somebody, like it was on a YouTube thing, and a guy said, "Check this out. This is stand up." And I watched it. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, okay? But I was like, she talked about getting raped and crying, and I'm sitting there going, that is a horrible thing that happened, okay? And
you need to watch the whole thing.
I didn't watch the whole
thing.
You
need to go to your whatever service you have and look her up. Watch the first one first, Nanette, and then watch the second one, Douglas. It stuns me when people have not watched, because she changes the paradigm. Because when this happened, it was 3-4 years ago, the first one came out. That at that time was cutting edge. That's where stand-up was and where it was going. And she was right on that edge. And to my mind, you have to see it. You have to watch and see what someone else is doing who the whole stand-up world is talking about. Now, you can watch it and not like it. That's fine too. But you gotta watch it. She's special. And what you saw, you have to understand the context. What you saw was the end of the.
That's when I saw that, it kind of.
Yeah, I get it. But you got to watch the whole thing. Really, you have to. You got to see what's going on.
That'll be on my playlist to watch, Hannah.
And my podcast, which you said at the beginning is popular. Yes, and I hesitate that something that's getting a solid 100 downloads a week. Woo!
Oh, don't say that.
I hesitate to say that's popular, but that's but it is my podcast, and it is called The Bad Piano Player, and it's a musical history podcast with music and history and comedy and me and my sound recordist, and that's what it is.
And so, but do you not know a lot about history, though? I mean, you seem like you are.
Right. Well, I know
a major in history or something.
No. I like reading history. No, I started collecting music. I'm a freaky. I'm a collector. I'm an archive guy. I've always been a collector of things, books, whatever it is that I can collect. Once I get into it, I go crazy. So I started collecting sheet music a few years ago, and I've got this enormous collection of songs, various composers, and I cataloged them by composer. And when I couldn't work anymore, it was slightly less than a month after I'd stopped working. We started the podcast April the 6th. This is the first episode of last year. So we're coming up on episode 52, a couple of weeks. And what it is, it's evolved into I play usually six, sometimes 7 songs, and we have either a composer we're featuring, a lyricist we're featuring, a type of composer or lyricist, or this past week we did forgotten musicals. So we did 2 songs from musicals that you might not have ever heard of. Mm-hmm. And I play. I'm the bad piano player, and I sing. At the moment I'm the just okay singer, and we talk about the songs and the history of the songs and the history surrounding them, what they're talking about, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the whole thing. It's a half hour.
Well, can you send me a link to that, and I'll put it.
Yeah, sure.
Send me a link. And one last question. What's your passion that nobody knows about? And I don't mean kill people, or I mean like anything that.
There aren't too many passions that nobody knows about, but my hidden passion, I put it on Instagram occasionally, is needlepoint, cross stitch pattern needlepoint. Is this being shown on camera?
No, you froze up there for a sec. Hold on. You went.
I think you did, actually.
Either you got. Am I frozen or you? Because I look.
Yeah, you're frozen. I'm not frozen.
You're not. Oh, this is. You look completely frozen there. Now you're
okay. How about now? So you can.
Are you being serious about the needlepoint thing?
Yeah. Hold on a second. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you wait 1 second? Hang on.
I think he's full of shit. I mean, needlepoint. That's what my wife's doing upstairs. I mean, I mean, whatever you're into that, but.
Okay, hold on. Okay, these are the ones that I haven't framed.
Oh, wow. Okay. But did your wife do that or you did
No,
that?
I did it. I do it.
John, for real?
For real. What do you mean, my wife? Why would my wife do it? She's not into it. Um, I have a Yuck Yucks. I have a Yuck Yucks.
Put that other one up. Put that other one up, the last one.
Yep.
It looks like a Pink Floyd album.
It's a Lauren Harris painting. A group of 7. Anyway, I have a sweatshirt from Yuck Yucks that I got 35 years ago. I've had it for a long time, and I embroidered my nickname on the back of it. Jeremy Hotz used to call me Bastard, so I sewed Bastard into the back. And my wife saw it and bought me a needlepoint kit. She thought I might like it, so.
That is really cool. Okay.
These are all Lauren Harris paintings. These first group. There's another one. And this one is, I think this one is AJ Casson, another group of 7
that one's
guys.
I really like that one. That one's the best one.
Okay. And this one's J.E.H. McDonald, another.
This one's better. I like this one. This is
And-
those are the is that from Scotland?
No, that's Canada. That's a silver mine in northern Ontario.
Okay.
This you probably know.
Yes, that's
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Each one of these takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to do. And if you'll hang on one more second.
I thought he was joking. I really did.
Each one of them takes about 3 to 6 months. And this is the one I am currently working on. And as you can see, I've got a big hole in it that I'm going to finish in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, that's my hidden passion.
That's really cool.
I also like tennis.
I love tennis. I've got my racket over there costs well over $600. So if I ever meet you, we'll go have a match.
Absolutely. I'm going out with my tennis ball shooter after this. I'm dressed for tennis.
Yes, you look like you look like Kill Bill. So
oh yeah, it's my what is it? It's my highway cone outfit.
Looks great. Well, I want to thank you so much for this, John. It was very sweet of you
My
to
pleasure.
take the time. And I'm going to put a link up. John,
Right, I'll send the link.
check out his podcast and his stand-up. John's been doing this for a long time, and hopefully you get your shot soon and get out there again, because the world needs, if anything, John, the world needs a laugh more than anything.
Well, there's a comic in Toronto named Steve Brinder. I don't know if you know him, from my era, before me. He was the man before
Steve Brinder, yes.
Steve Brinder. He said recently that when this ends, the first year after it ends is going to be like the Roaring 20s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's certainly possible.
I hope so. I really
Yep.
do. Okay,
All right.
so thank you so much, folks.
Pleasure.
Please subscribe. I've been talking to the one and only Mr. John Wing. I'm the Amazing Vito. Be good to yourselves. Be kind, and watch some comedy.
We should close with the Scottish Godfather.
What's that?
It's my version of the Godfather, but with all Scottish actors.
Okay, go ahead.
Don Corleone, I need a man with powerful friends. I need $1 million in cash. I need those politicians that you keep in your pocket like so many pieces of silver. I must say no to you, but I will give you my reasons. It's true. I have a lot of friends in politics, but they wouldn't be friendly very long if they knew that my business was drugs instead of gambling, which they consider to be a harmless vice. But drugs is a dirty business, and it doesn't make any difference to me what a man does for a living, you understand? It's just that your business is a little dangerous.
Oh man. Now that that was awesome.
You know who I am? I'm Angus McFadden. I made my bones when you were still wearing kilts.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I
Pleasure.
like Braveheart, and that.
It's the only accent I can do.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You
and
too, man.
hope to
Be
see
good.
you again soon. Thank you. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. See you later.